1977, the New York State Legislature enacted the first Son of Sam law after it learned that David Berkowitz was planning to sell his story of the serial murders that he had committed. In 1991, New York's law was struck down by the U.S. Supreme Court on First Amendment grounds. But since then, various states have attempted to circumvent the ruling by tailoring their laws to address the court's concerns about free speech. And whenever high-profile, unpopular verdicts are returned, such as in the Michael Jackson or the O.J. Simpson trials, these types of law are often revisited. Naturally, on the heels of the Casey Anthony verdict, a lawmaker in Florida is proposing legislation. It would prohibit jurors from receiving money in exchange for providing information or interviews related to a trial after it's over. So the question for today's stream team is this: should jurors be allowed to profit from those cases? Lisa Bloom is an attorney and the author of Think, Straight Talk for Women to Stay Smart in a Dumbed-Down World. Mike Walker joins me by phone from L.A. He's a senior editor with the National Enquirer. And Scott Randolph is a Florida state representative. He's the lawmaker who is proposing the legislation in Florida. Let me start with you, Scott. What do you hope to achieve with this bill?
I think what we want to achieve is to make sure that in our modern society and our modern juries that we don't get a juror trying to get on a jury with the idea of making money at the end. Or we don't see, even worse, juries sitting in the deliberation room deciding which type of decision, which type of verdict is going to bring me more money. And we want to make sure that we keep the jury process as unbiased as possible. And we think we've balanced out the First Amendment with the Sixth Amendment right to a fair trial for both the state and the defendant.
And Mike, I want to bring you in because you actually co-authored a book with a juror from the O.J. case. Do you think that everyone should be able to do that, or do you think that was just an exception to the rule?
No, I think that the carpenter is worthy of his hire. The idea that being on a jury is some kind of sacred calling and you can never speak about it and get paid for your time is ridiculous. This is the United States of America. We have First Amendment freedom. I can see trying to enact legislation where a criminal might not profit, you know, the Son of Sam law, but a juror? Jurors are American citizens. They can speak freely once they have discharged their duties to the court.
And Lisa, don't jurors have a First Amendment right here to do this? Whether, I mean, I know that Scott is certainly looking to put this bill through, but don't they have a right?
Look, I'm a big protector of the First Amendment. They certainly do have a right to speak about it, to write about it, to do interviews, but I think this proposed law strikes the right balance. They should not be able to profit from that. If they want to go on television and give interviews without getting paid, so be it. But there's too much of a concern that back there in the jury room, when they're deliberating, they're going to come up with a more shocking verdict because that's going to be more profitable to them. We just can't have that. So let them speak, just don't let them profit from it.
Mike, why don't you...
I think that would all cancel itself out, wouldn't it? I mean, we'd have all 12 jurors all trying to come up with stories in their heads. I think it's preposterous that anyone could think, that any one juror would think they could influence the outcome of a verdict that way just to profit.
Scott, are you concerned at all that maybe this would give somebody, a potential juror, an incentive to make themselves look good and make themselves get on that jury when it's seated and hoping to make some money in the end?
Well, we saw it at the beginning of this trial. We saw the judge with the prosecutor, the defense attorney, all asking questions during the jury selection process, trying to weed out those that they thought might be there or might have a profit motive. So we can already see that it was a concern of the court and the legal teams at the beginning of this trial. And of course, as soon as the trial ended, what happened? You know, we had jurors come forward trying to sell their story to the highest bidder. And of course, remember, this bill does not prevent anyone from speaking after the trial. They can grant as many interviews as possible. It just tries to take away a profit motive so that we have an unbiased jury in that jury deliberation room. And I think that's very sacred to our American judicial system.
But these are people, and Mike, I'm sure you want to weigh in here. I'll give you the last word. These are people, though, who have spent a lot of time, certainly in this case, they're away from their family, they're holed up.
Right. In the O.J. Simpson case, it was a scandal. Those jurors were taken away from their families for more than a year, weren't even allowed to talk to each other while they were sequestered in a hotel that no one, except, you know, certain members of the press, we knew where the hotel was, of course. But, you know, they couldn't talk to anybody. I mean, it is almost, but what about that? What does the prosecutor have to say about taking people and suddenly a trial goes on forever and people are sequestered? They're not paid. Why can't they talk about it? And by the way, it isn't just profit motive that makes people stand up and try to get onto, television and into newspapers. I know that as a journalist. It isn't just profit motive. People can do that just because they want to have attention. So that motive is always there.
All right. Great discussion. Great discussion, all of you. Mike Walker, Scott Randolph, Lisa Bloom, great to have you all on. Thank you very much. Have a good weekend.
Thank you.